You can correct me if I'm wrong, but if I go through and say Iran, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, China, and Russia, I would assume you don't have counterparts in those countries. I'm assuming they don't have commissioners of the environment and sustainable development that are looking at the same targets that you are. You don't have counterparts in any of those countries, do you?
We have counterparts to our office, the Office of the Auditor General, but we don't have counterparts in terms of a dedicated commissioner of the environment in those countries. That's correct.
I think that speaks to where I'm going at about where, looking at the global situation of projects A, B, C, and D, the list is endless on Canadian energy in our country being canceled and scrapped, thinking, oh, that's great, it's lowering emissions. It's not, because the demand is still there, and who's picking it up are countries that don't have Mr. DeMarco. I would argue, and I'm saying here, that there's not a denial or a delay here. I think the questions to the commissioner that I've been asking is the denial or the reality that we face in reducing emissions is an international challenge that we have to look at it in that context. Mr. DeMarco had asked in my opening round about whether we look at what production and what emissions are coming from other countries that I listed there that are filling the gap of where Canadian energy is not going. I'm very proud as a Canadian of our energy sector in this country, and particularly not only the workers, the frontline workers, making sure they're supported with paychecks here as opposed to other ones around the world. We live in denial if we think that when we cancel a project that it just won't happen elsewhere. We are seeing the reality of countries move, or companies move to other countries that don't have the same focus. They don't have a commissioner such as yourself. They don't have that same emphasis on environmental targets. So we try to feel good here in Canada. We're losing good Canadian paychecks and jobs here, and they're going to countries and to companies around the world that don't give two hoots about what we're talking about here. So I do think living in denial is two things. One, acknowledging that when we scrap projects here in this country, that they just go away and the environment gets better. Your report confirms it does not, but also confirms that we're not tracking the decisions we're making in Canada and the impacts they're having on global emissions because they're going to other countries that don't have the same environmental standard, net zero, carbon capture, all these environmental aspects.